Welcome to another episode of Full House, an NHT Podcast. I'm Tamika, and today we'll be addressing the question, is it better to build or buy? Real estate investment and development management consultant Shani Lovindeer is here to shed light on this very important question and provide you with all the information you need to make an informed decision. Hi, Shani. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Tamika. Thank you for having me. It's a good opportunity to speak to you and your viewers on this very interesting and important topic.
Shani, a lot of people tend to be hesitant when it comes to building. Why do you think that is?
I think it's a combination of not knowing what the process entails, and also it's a very big an important decision in anyone's life, and it does take some thought. You will naturally have concerns, and you feel that once I begin, there's no going back. And then, and you're not sure of what will happen, and you're probably focusing on what could go wrong. And, when in truth, at the end of the day, building your own home, it's a very worthwhile experience. It's one where you feel empowered. You're actually bringing your dream, your vision to life. And it's there for you to see, touch, and for me, I think more importantly, feel.
A lot of people tend to think that the building process is tedious because of the layers of bureaucracy that you have to endure. Is that true?
Okay, so bureaucracy has been thrown around a lot, and it tends to have a negative connotation, but it's there for a reason. It's to protect both the regulators and you, the builder, homeowner. You're contributing to the natural environment and the built environment, and it's important to be safe and to also abide by necessary rules to ensure that we can all live together and protect and ensure a good quality of life. So it can seem tedious. It is sometimes long, but with the right professional team and being informed as to what to expect along the way, it can break down some of those negative perceptions.
So Shani, when we just started, you were making reference to why it is that people should build. But if a young person says it sounds hard, what would you say to that person to encourage them that it's just as good as a process as buying?
Okay. So fair enough question and concern. So yes, it's building your house, your own house is a good venture to undertake. But let's be clear, there are some reasons, and for some persons, it's not suited for. So for example, if you're clear and sure that you want to live in a high-rise building, building your own home is not for you. If you're very clear that you don't want to wait, you don't want to know anything about building, you don't want to talk to any contractor, you don't want to step foot inside an approval office or agency, then perhaps the best thing for you is to go on what they call the open market, shop around, typically with a professional realtor, with advice from perhaps family, friends, persons with that experience, and you will be able to see a ready-made product. And depending on how you're going to buy, whether it's a all cash or financing, you make those necessary links and arrangements, and there you go. However, I again say building offers you one of the ultimate options and benefits of being able to customize, put your vision out there. Perhaps you don't see anything like what you envision or perhaps seen in other parts of the world. Definitely. That you'd want to build. You perhaps have your own piece of land. You may have inherited it or bought it. And you want to live wherever that property is located, then definitely. So even though you're sure, even though you want to embark on this great adventure, the concerns is, how do I go about doing it? But the beauty now of this digital age is that information is everywhere.
It's at your fingertips.
And part of testing whether you're really interested is how willing you are to go out and seek the information.
There, you had mentioned before quite a few processes that you have to ensure that you touch before building. What are some of the pitfalls that people need to look out for before engaging in this process?
So I think, as I said before, the first pitfall is your why. Are you really motivated? And that is demonstrated actually through your behavior. I recommend that you actually start living like a homeowner long before you start on this process. Are you comfortable with about, say, 30% of your income being earmarked for not only the construction process, but the payments that may come after, which include, if it's financed, a mortgage, and as well as maintenance, because there's no point in building and not maintaining, because then you'd have literally flushed your money down the drain. So I recommend that you start living as a homeowner, perhaps at very least 6 months, but even I would recommend more, up to a year or more. Are you comfortable with it? Are you thinking and reassessing your values? Because perhaps that percentage that was earmarked, perhaps that was your entertainment fund, your traveling fund, whatever your car fund, and perhaps you don't like that. Then you have to make a real decision. And that's long before you start talking to anybody that's connected to the building process. So that's what I would call the planning stage, where you undergo a certain kind of personal change. If you're not already set up financially and your lifestyle is not already structured like that, as well as talking to the persons in your network, friends, family. Do you know anyone who's ever done something like this? Perhaps you could, if they're in the process, you go with them, see what's that's like. Is it stressful? Are they stressed out? Are they, being harassed? Have they been taken advantage of? Because that is a valid concern, that you undertake the process and persons, somehow don't turn out to be as professional as you would have hoped. Start talking to professionals in the field. It's best to do it when you don't need them, because the relationships are important in this industry. So it's not just the product, it's the relationships. Trust, reliability, integrity is important. How do you relate to those individuals? Are you comfortable with raising your concerns? Are they able to allay your concerns to the extent that you are comfortable? Some persons may, for example, in our field, talk in a very learned, state. Right. And I'm here, with you and your viewers to kind of say it's not easy, but it can be expressed in a simple way for you to understand. Yes, there are very technical parts to it, but at least from the perspective of the homeowner, there's critical information that can be conveyed and ought to be conveyed in a way that they can feel comfortable with seeking clarification, asking specific questions to be able to go, that takes them through the process.
So you'd say the best way to select a contractor is by asking questions and finding out.
Asking questions, asking to see their previous work.
Good idea.
Go and look at their work. It's best that you can see what works in progress, completed works, and even how they go about, for example, selecting materials. Asking the contractor, have they ever had a client that was difficult? In what way were they difficult and how did they resolve it? Have they ever had to leave a job? What were the reasons from their perspective? And how did they go about doing that?
So it's basically a job interview.
It is an interview.
Because you are investing a lot of money into this, so you need to get all the questions answered.
Correct. You need those questions, and to also understand so that you can recognize when things are not going well, and not to keep going in the hopes that it will change.
Right.
But to also know from your perspective when you want to stop, when you no longer want to work with that particular individual, and how to go about changing that relationship.
And my final question, Shani, if you are building and you run into some issues with your contractor, what's the best way to resolve that?
Okay, so there are, I think, a couple of issues, as you call it. So any arrangement with the contractor needs at the beginning to be clear on who is responsible for what. You have certain arrangements where the contractor does everything. He finds the laborers, he finds the material, and he bills. There are other arrangements where you find the material, he finds the laborer, and you coordinate. So some of the issues include, payment, how much is owed, and progress. Is he on time? Is he asking too much from your perspective as a down payment? And then also quality. But again, quality comes from vetting the contractor from early on. So some of these issues arise because there is no documentation. So it's a handshake, it's a quotation. There are no clauses on when and under what circumstances persons are to be paid. And also, I must be frank, sometimes the client doesn't keep up their end of the bargain. The persons need to understand that the contractor is, spending. He has his resources out there. They need to be paid. And so it's important that you pay on time and also pay for the value that's there. So essentially, without a contract, ending a relationship can be very complicated.
So your advice is to ensure you have documentation first.
Yes.
So that if the relationship goes sour, you know how to protect yourself.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights and knowledge, Shani. I know that a lot of our viewers and listeners will be highly educated on the matter. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you. I'm glad I could help.
Tune in to our next episode where we'll share with you other great and exciting information and stories of home ownership. See you soon, and remember, it will definitely be a full house.